All right, good morning. So I called your attention. I'll start my screen share here. Okay, let's see. Can you all see the Canvas page?
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you. Okay, so here's the again, these discussions going for your bell ringers. And just going to give you a reminder to review the rubric. I kind of, with the beginning of school, and you two particularly, I'm glad I have you two here, have been absolutely fantastic about keeping up with your work. So I thank you. And hopefully you're enjoying the work. But just, oh, look at you. Yep. Okay, so Amaya, if you don't mind, I'm going to use you as an example. So this is a great start. So you have said what's going on in this picture. Then you have said, started to say, well, I'm gonna challenge this a little bit. What's going on? It's a family member's birthday because they're standing outside the hospital. That's some evidence that makes you say that, and they can stand outside. So what more, and again, because I'm challenging y'all to really be good observers, what more, because what if it was just, what makes you say, looking in the picture again, that finding more evidence that says that? What else in this picture could tell us that it's because of COVID that they're visiting outside the window?
They have masks on, and then the signs on the door.
There you go. So see, that's what I'm saying. Really, I know it's easy to probably just do your initial, and that's the kind of the point of these exercises. People are going to look at a photo and make instant, but sometimes when you don't look at you're going to miss little things. So that would be something you would add. And then what more can you find? So again, we're just looking, and some photos will have more than others, but you know, what more can you find? So, you know, you might, you know, I'm looking right now. It looks like, you know, I might be able to say that looking at this, that this is not only family, but it's friends, maybe, just looking at the mix of people here. And I thought, no, maybe not. I might have been thinking of another photo I saw and something else. I thought I saw Bay. I was going to say multi-generational. Let's see. Oh, I know what I was going to say. So you said, so here, this is perfect. You said it's someone's birthday. How do you know it's their birthday?
The balloons.
What do the balloons say?
I think they say happy birthday.
You think they do? Look closer. Kind of zoom it. Can you see? Let me see if I can.
I can't see.
I can't.
Did they say get well soon?
Let's see if oh, here we go. Here.
Mother.
There you go. Happy
It's Mother's Day.
Yes. So you see,
maybe they're at a nursing home.
Yeah. So, and yeah, and good, because could that have been? So you can tell from the look of the building that is not someone's house.
Mm-hmm.
So it's obviously an older person, because not obviously, but I'm looking at the type of facility it is. It doesn't look like a hospital to me. So, but yeah, Mother's Day. So that's what I'm looking for in these, because I'm going to start doing more of these, what's going on in these pictures. So be sure to look carefully at everything, answer each of these questions. And then here's the rubric, but I also have it permanently posted in discussions because I made a separate rubric for the what's going on in these pictures. So here's how the rubric. So again, you've given a detailed explanation, detailed examples. So as you verbally answer, you're like, oh, well, they've got masks on, they're outside the door, there's signs on, those would be the details, okay? instead of that general, because that's what we all do. We usually just take a general thing, but the story sometimes is in the details. And then what more do you see? So just, answer maybe 2 or more additional elements that you can identify there. So that's how the grading is going to be going on what's going on in these pictures. Okay. So, Amaya, you verbally gave me all that, and thank you for letting me letting me use you as an example here, since you were great and got that posted since you got here first and had more time to do that. So, all right. So, let's see. And I'm going to tie this to something else. If you all, I'm a big like crime TV junkie. Like I like Dateline mysteries and 48 Hours and IDTV. Like I watch all of those shows, and because people's behavior fascinates me, and police officers, investigators will tell you that eyewitness accounts of crimes, like when they have a crime and they look for eyewitness, that they're actually sometimes some of the most unreliable things, because and when I first heard that years ago, I kind of tested myself, and I'm like, if I was just in a store, I left, and I'm like, can I describe that person who was in front of me at the checkout lane? We don't really, like, yeah, you can be like, oh yeah, there was a lady in front of me. She was older. But like, if you really have to test yourself sometime, like next time you go out and then do it, it's hard. And they sometimes say that eyewitness accounts are really, kind of iffy, because remembering specific details, can be hard, because I think we all just glance at things, but we don't really pay attention. And that's why it amazes me sometimes when I do see like these suspect, sketches, that they'll remember detail, like, oh, they had a chipped tooth, or, like, to notice those kinds of details, you really have to be paying attention. So, all righty. So we are going to look at some really cool photos. So there's certain photos that really stand the test of time. And we looked at a couple, the Pulitzers the other day. There are other photos that are just iconic images through history. Like, they might be a 200-year-old photo, but it's still a famous image. And a lot of them become pop imagery, like on T-shirts and stuff. You'll see them. So this is, and I encourage you to go back when you have more time, because we're not going to look on it all, but this is Time Magazine, 100 of the most influential photos of all time. And I need to, yes, I am recording. Okay, I couldn't remember if I remember to hit record. So this is a fantastic compilation of photos. And as I said, I mean, if you like photography, I really highly encourage you to go through, because they have descriptions of them. And then some of them, which we'll look at a couple, have videos that go with them, very short videos. So this was a statement from the project. It says, there's no formula that makes a picture influential. Some images are on the list because they were the first of their kind. So like what they did, the technique to get the photo was original. Others because they shaped the way we think. And then others because they changed the way we live. So again, that shows you how an image, one image, can do all of that. And which is just really neat to me. So here, what all 100 share is their turning points in our human experience. So you click on the image here and it'll take you to the site. As I said, this is a really beautiful site. They did a really, really neat job. So here's the collection, here's the videos. Here's view by date. To me, this is an easier way to navigate it. So did either of you, 2014, remember this photo at the Oscars?
Yes.
Yeah, so Ellen DeGeneres was hosting, and when you read the story behind the photo, and there's also an audio thing with Bradley Cooper, she had kind of a bit pre-planned with Meryl Streep, the actress, and then was trying to take a picture. Well, then Brad Pitt or not Brad Pitt, he's in the background there though. Bradley Cooper was like, hey, let me help you with that photo. And he explains it here. And so that was not the plan. He was legit like, let me help you with the photo. During the show, because she turned around and tweeted it, retweeted 3 million times. So in minutes, I mean, that's mind-boggling to me. 3 million times, and more than any other photo in history. Now, obviously, we haven't had Twitter, obviously forever, but still, we've had Twitter a bit. So that's just an amazing, amazing thing that one photo went viral like that. So that's why that photo is on the list. This is the Situation Room when they killed Osama bin Laden. And I like to call this out. So and this is why if you love photography, there are like wonderful careers out there. So Pete Souza was his full-time job. Like, how cool is this? His full-time job was to be the photographer for the president in the White House. So for the 4 years, he just went around with Obama, and anywhere President Obama was, he took pictures. And I've been wanting to get it. He published a what I call it their coffee table books, like a beautiful book you can put on your coffee table as decor, but it's nice. And he published a book of all the photos he took. And I think I actually have a link to that on my Media Arts Resources website. But at any rate, so he just documents. That's his full-time job, is to take photos. And so he, talks about that. These are the photos leading up to it. So that's his full-time job. Let me get to, now this one I definitely want to call your attention to. So this is, and if we were in class and we had 5 days a week, last year I showed the film for this. But this is called The Falling Man. And here are all there was a series of photos taken in it, and this was from 9/11. And a lot of people they estimate about 200 ended up jumping to their death. And because the alternative of how they, with the smoke and fire, was some people chose this. And I need to stop saying more because a lot of it's in here. So here's one of the video samples. I want you to watch this clip. This is another one of those photos that brings up some ethical questions, kind of like the baby Bailey from the Oklahoma City bombing.
I took an express subway train from Times Square to Chambers Street, which is the stop just before the World Trade Center. The first thing I saw was the 2 World Trade Centers. Both of them had smoke and fire coming from them. I just started making my pictures. I was photographing the burning building when EMT says, "Oh my gosh, look at that." And we started seeing people coming down out of the building. I instinctively picked up my camera and started photographing them, following them as they came down, until I photographed what has become known as the Falling Man. It's a very quiet photograph. It's not like a lot of other violent photographs from other disasters. There's no blood, there's no guts, there's nobody getting shot. But people react to it in a way that they feel that they can relate to this photograph, that they might have been in the same situation and they might have had to make whatever choice the man in the photograph made. You have to be very aware of your surroundings when you're in a situation like this. You have to be careful that you don't become a victim. Journalists don't run away from a falling building. We don't run away from the fire. We run to it because it's our job to record history. I didn't know I had that photograph of that man in that position until I actually saw it on my computer when I got back to the office. I called one of our photo editors and I showed him the picture. I said, this is it. This has got to be the picture. This man was like an arrow bisecting the 2 World Trade Centers. I woke up the next morning and I opened up the paper and there was my photograph of Falling Man. It was a very brave thing for them to use that picture. It was the only picture that was like that of anybody falling from the building. The only picture that showed any kind of human interaction like that. A paper in Allentown, Pennsylvania used the picture. They put it on their whole back page in the newspaper, and the editor said that it was that important to photograph, and he got a lot of mail, letters to the editor saying, you shouldn't have run this. This is not something I want my children to see. Tom Janot, the author of the Esquire article, he's the one who came up with the name, The Falling Man. That was the name of the article, and it sort of stuck. I've never regretted taking that photograph at all. It's probably one of the only photographs that actually shows someone dying that day. We have a terrorist attack on our own soil and we still don't see pictures of our people dying, and this is a photograph of someone dying.
Okay, so thoughts. Again, no blood and guts, but we know what's happening there. So too graphic, what are your thoughts?
Honestly, it makes me cringe a little bit because I know what's about to happen, and it just gives me so much anxiety. Cause I just look, oh my gosh. Anyway, it just is so, I don't know the word for it.
Disturbing. I mean,
Yeah.
there's a huge element of, and I remember again, watching all this happen. I remember the first time I saw, because I mean, from that far, there were these, and I remember the first time I saw on the live cover, I'm like, what's that are those people? You know, and again, this is live on TV. And he captured that because, you know, these photographers have nice lenses, but it's disturbing. Caitlin, what are your thoughts?
I also thought it was a bit disturbing. But then again, so is the whole situation. So we can't really pick and choose because there's not really going to be anything there that is friendly to everybody when you think about the situation.
Right. There is another word that I would use for it, and let me get back over here for a minute. I encourage you, as I said, when we're in class, I've shown this, and again, it also ties into our video making of documentary filmmaking and how the film was put together. But I have done, again, my dig deeper, which are not required, but I encourage. And I'll go ahead and publish that now. So for tomorrow or the weekend, first of all, here's the magazine article that was published years later. It's a really fascinating, good read that was in Esquire magazine. If you click on the image, that will take you to it. And then I have embedded the documentary. And is it gonna pop up? There we go. I highly encourage you to watch it because it is fascinating. And they, of course, all the newspapers and everyone that published the photo, they got a lot of backlash. People are like, whoa, too much, don't show that. Then became this whole search for who is this? Who who is that man? So this documentary is absolutely fascinating. But one other thing, so we say that it's disturbing. One other word that some people said is that there's some peace to it. Peace in the sense that he took his final act in life. He took ownership of it. I'm not going to be holden to sit up, at the very top of this building. I'm going to take my life literally into my hands and make my final choice. And then again, if you look at, because I'm sure it's like clicking fast, but if you notice some of them, his legs were out. There is a little bit, the perfect way, as he said, it looks like an arrow. There's a little bit, if you look at it, you hopefully, I don't know, maybe you don't. And if you don't, that's okay. Because again, we all see different things, right? A little bit of peace in that just that final free fall. So again, you can, our images are up for interpretation. So again, if you have time this weekend or later down the road, I really encourage you to watch it. It's a absolutely fascinating documentary. And they also talk about how, even though that maybe it's better to not know who it is, because then he can represent so many others, who lost their lives. So again, this one is, there's so many different things to unpack with that one. How are we doing on time? Okay. So as I said, there are 100 here. We're not going to have enough time to go through all of them. This, I don't know if y'all are, because she's not been acting in a while, but Demi Moore back in the days, like when I was in college, like she was an actress, part of this group of actors called the Brat Pack. And they did like a lot of great movies for my era, St. Elmo's Fire, and I don't remember what else. But when she was pregnant, she was married to Bruce Willis, and you maybe have heard of him. He's remained a little bit more current. But this, and Annie Leibovitz is a famous photographer. This photo caused a lot of controversy because it was on the cover. I don't know if it was on Time. Might have been on Time. I don't have time to go back and look, but it'll tell. But anyway, that's another interesting one. But people found that offensive. But then others are like, "What's offensive about it? It's natural." This one is a super famous photo. I wanted to get to one that's not so. A lot of these are disturbing, obviously. This one is very interesting. So this is, you can see this, I'm going to test my knowledge. I believe it's Chicago. Boston. Okay. So this was a fire in 1975. And this woman and a child were on the 5th floor. There was nowhere to go. The fire escape, I believe, was falling. There were, Owen here earned a Pulitzer Prize. Excuse me. But this is an example that this photo that was taken, because look, you can see the fire escapes are just falling apart. And this woman ended up, she was dangling the child and threw the child down. And this photo led to change and safety code changes that went all across the country. So that's an example of one photo enacting positive change. There's the one we looked at the other day. This is another famous photo. Man on the moon. Where's the one I'm wanting to get to though? We've got time. So this was the famous Zapruder film, if you've heard of that, from the JFK assassination. And again, he was doing film, like actual film camera where you have to go develop it. And so they stopped it frame by frame. This is another short video that I want to show you because it talks about the how he did it. And again, he was just a regular guy on the side of the street. He was the only person who got the image. This is probably one of the most studied images of all time. This is in the investigation.
Every reporter writes his own obituary. And mine is going to say the life reporter who obtained the infamous Zapruder film of the Kennedy assassination.
Good morning, Tyrone.
There were other photographs taken of the motorcade. Abe Zapruder got it from beginning to end, and he was the only one. He expressed embarrassment the day we were negotiating that it was him, this middle-aged garment manufacturer, who got the only filmed evidence of the assassination, and not one of those world-famous photographers back there in the press bus. He never quite got over that.
There's a motor crime guide in our newsroom, and there has been an attempt, as perhaps you know now, on the life of President Kennedy. He was
On November 22nd, 1963, I was in my office, saw the bulletins spitting out on the AP,
from Dallas, Texas.
bells ringing. It was astonishing.
President Kennedy died at 1 p.m. Central Standard Time.
When I first reached Abraham Zapruder, I had no idea who he was, except somebody who had an 8mm camera in Dealey Plaza. I picked up the phone book and just literally ran my finger down the Z's, and it jumped out at me. I started calling that number every 15 minutes, as a matter of fact. At 11 o'clock, this weary voice answered. Mr. Zapruder had been contacted, as I knew he would be, by other reporters. And he'd asked them to come to his office at 9, and I got there at 8. He looked up when I walked in. I looked slightly annoyed, but he said, you might as well come in. I'm about to show the film to 2 Secret Service agents. So the 3 of us went into this tiny whitewashed room, and this old rickety 8mm projector. He turned to us and he said, "Are you ready?" The answer is there was no way in the world that anybody in that room could be ready for what was about to happen. Turned it on, and there was that familiar sequence of the motorcade coming around the corner and then turning abruptly left. Then the presidential limousine disappears behind that huge road sign. When it comes out, the president has both of his fists jammed up underneath his chin. That was the signal that he had been hit by the first bullet to hit him, the second shot. And suddenly, we get to what we now know is the infamous frame 313, where the whole top of the president's head just explodes up into the air. When that happened, the 3 of us, 2 grizzled agents and this not so grizzled reporter, all reacted with, ugh. It was as if we had been simultaneously gut punched. I've seen that film now perhaps 100 times in my life. The impact remarkably has never diminished. That moment in all my years in journalism was probably the most dramatic I've ever encountered. Once I saw that film, I thought, there is no way in hell that Life magazine is not going to wind up with that film. And the one thing that he constantly repeated was, he said, I do not want this film to be exploited. I assured him that Life magazine would not exploit the film. I mean, I knew the reputation of Life, and that seemed to comfort him. Meanwhile, out in the hall, the other reporters were behaving very badly. They were shouting, they were banging on the door. The Zapruder himself was getting increasingly upset. I think the negotiation made him uncomfortable. And I finally got to $50,000. And I said, if we have to go any higher than that, I'm going to have to call New York. He looked up at me and he said, let's do it. So I sat down at his typewriter, typed out a 9-line contract, and I walked out the back door with what turned out to be the most famous home movie in American history. That week's issue of Life was already on press when the president was shot. They made black and white copies because it was too late to do color at that point. Out of deference to the grieving Kennedy family, they did not publish the headshot, frame 313. Life later published that particular frame, but not on this first issue. In many ways, it's ironic that Life magazine got this film and therefore had to show it for the first time to the world in still pictures. I often talk about the majesty of the still picture, of the still image. There's no question in my mind that the Zapruder film would never have had the impact it does if it had been shown the first time as a motion picture. The fact is, we showed it in still images, and those cemented themselves onto the American psyche. When you're a reporter, you have to make decisions often on whether to push something very hard and heartlessly often, or when not to. Abe Zapruder was haunted by the fact that he shot that film for the rest of his life. And in many ways, the same is true of me.
So again, you can see the significance that, again, average man just keeping eyes and ears open, and the value of that film now. And then I really like what he said, that the power of that they showed it in still images first, because this is seconds, that the whole sequence happened in seconds, because this is a moving car and they drove him straight to the Parkland Hospital in Dallas. And the still image, like Jackie Kennedy reaching out to pull the Secret Service in, all those still images to sit in, you can almost feel the emotion of the chaos that was going on in that. I'm going to show you one more because we are running out of time, but this one is, I think, kind of interesting here. Here we go. Nope. Oh, nope. All right, so this last one is, here we go. Come on, stop. All right, so the title kind of gives it away, but what, if you didn't, hopefully maybe you didn't see that real fast. What do you all think this is?
Is it a crown?
Okay, a crown. Okay, good. What else? Anyone else have any guesses?
Is it like some sort of like splatter,
A splatter, good.
like a hole?
Yeah. Tyrone, any guesses what that might be?
I was thinking crown. I didn't know.
A crown? Okay. All right, so this is a drop of milk taken in 1957. And it's kind of a really interesting image. And this man that did this liked to do lots of experimenting with what objects going through things, or, you know, just normal everyday life things. And he captured a really interesting image. I'm going to play this one more film. It's 5 minutes. We're obviously going a little bit over in this time slot, but we'll make up for it with getting out a little early in the next one. So this one's a little bit more fun than the other ones we've seen, but you can see the type of work he did. So this is a documentary short called Milk Drop. This just kind of shows you how you can really have fun with photography.
I don't think I ever heard Doc use the phrase, "this is my best." The reality of taking a picture like the milk drop is that there were hundreds of those photographs. He worked 6 or 7 years perfecting that splash of the milk drop picture. I met Harold Doc Edgerton, as we called him, when I was a graduate student.
In the Electrical Engineering Laboratory at Massachusetts Institute of Technology, Professor H.E. Edgerton perfects a new high-speed movie camera, which shows the eye of man things that happen too quickly to be seen.
As a graduate student, he was studying large electric motors, and he needed to take photographs. There were some clumsy stroboscopic tools around. So I think that got him interested as an engineer. But then I think that one day happened where he just said, "Hey, let's try something else." Here we go.
Your eyes aren't designed for speed. You shoot a bullet through here, you won't even see it. You won't know anything about it at all. So you have to have strobe.
Doc worked for years on perfecting really high speed, meaning really short duration bursts of light. And then about 1931, he started taking pictures of everyday things. With his improvements, it went from 250 frames a second to 6,000 frames a second. And that made it possible to see things like the sequences of the development of the splash of a drop and many other things that you could do with high-speed movies. The way you make the picture of the splash of a milk drop is you have a dropper, and it's just a little funnel with milk in it and a valve. One drip every couple seconds, drip, drip. It passes in front of an LED. That is the trigger that tells a timing box to set off the flash. And the neat thing about this kind of picture is it repeats every 2 seconds. You see these things and you think it's as big as a saucer, you know, and it actually isn't. It's the size of your thumbnail. By that time, the plate had evolved to a little round dish that was painted red. The milk drop photograph was part of a lifelong series of photographs of liquids and water. He really liked beautiful photographs. And if he had one that he wasn't quite satisfied with, he'd keep working at it. Did Doc consider himself to be an artist? He would joke about that. He would say, I'm an engineer, I'm not an artist. But then he would show a multi-flash photograph of a tennis player hitting a ball, and that's 50 pictures all in the same negative, and he'd throw up a picture and he'd say, he says, I almost threw this negative out, but I decided I'd better keep it. And today it's in the Museum of Modern Art. I think Doc's pictures were influential at the time when he started to publish them, because his pictures were just so unusual and so startling and so attention-grabbing that you just couldn't ignore them. And I think it just fascinated people that things that went on around them every day actually had these amazing characteristics about them. He really is the father of modern high-speed photography. The pictures will be there for a long time. Some of the early ones, there was nothing like them, and they're still amazing today. And I think he actually had quite a profound influence on his colleagues and students of the time that you really had to try things to really understand them.
So again, this kind of reminds me of the falling man picture. To get, and you all, several of you, a couple of you said that you thought it was a crown. He had to look through all of those, pictures to find the one that he liked just right, that looked, because there were different, stages of that milk drop to find just the right one they looked. And again, this is going to be the same thing when we move into shooting video. Don't just shoot, one shot of something. Because and I think these two examples will show you want choices. If you only take one photo of something and then only take one frame of video of something, that's all you have to work with. You don't have anything else to work with. But if you let's say I want to take a picture of the plant on my desk. I'm not just going to sit here and take a picture. I'm going to do it here. I'm going to take it from up here. I'm going to take a low. I'm going to get it real tight. I'm going to do, I'm going to shoot all different angles of that thing. Same with video, all different angles, because you want to have the ability to choose what looks best and what's most gripping. So to wrap this up, I just want to again call, and Tyrone, call your attention to, since you're popped in a little bit late. Tyrone, you need to go do your, there's a bell ringer in here called What's Going On in This Picture. Please review the rubric for that. Make sure you answer all 3 questions. And then the rest of you all, everyone, I encourage you, go back here and look at, again, there are 100 photographs. We didn't have time to go through all of them. And again, several of them have those little video shorts to go with them. So just really learn to study images and the power they can have. I'm gonna unclick that because we didn't get to that. And then again, for the weekend, the Falling Man, cannot recommend this film enough if you want to learn more. And again, the dig deepers are optional, but highly encouraged. So for this class, just want to remind you, I've started grading, so I've got some grades in on the the American Creed. So if you have the written part. So okay, and I apologize, I didn't get this posted yesterday. I've got it written. I'm gonna hopefully here this morning after we wrap up our second block, I'll record. Or no, I was gonna do it during the. I'm sorry, I've got a million things going in my mind. I will get this posted this morning. I wrote mine last night. And again, I'm going to push that deadline again, but if you want to, if you feel like you've grasped what I'm wanting in the spoken word, version. You may get started on it, but I'm probably now going to push that deadline to Tuesday because I feel like each day now that we're getting more and more into content, I'm not having enough time here. So we'll push that back again. But again, if you feel like you understand the assignment, knock it out tomorrow. That would be fantastic, or over the weekend. Okay. So with that, I know I've gone over. Any questions? Okay. So I went over. So let's go ahead and meet back. I'll give you about an 8-minute break. Let's come back at 9:30. And that's, again, since I went over, we'll make up the time that we went over in the second block. So I'll see you back here. Yes.
Okay. Can you tell Tyrone, could you stay on just for a second?
Okay, Caitlin and Amaya, we'll see you back here shortly.